Over the last few seasons, Manchester United have changed managers, systems, and players, but something strange keeps happening on the pitch. Different coaches, different ideas, different formations. Yet the same moment keeps appearing in the games where suddenly the team looks completely exposed. It's not just a one off, and it's not just one manager. So tonight, I want to take a step back from the match reactions and ask a bigger question about what is really happening in the middle of the park. Because if you look closely, you might there might be a pattern hiding in plain sight. So we have some key talking points tonight that I'm going to go through. And if I can go in too fast or too technical, please tell me. The first one's going to be shape and player roles. How you can do your role and look bad is number 2. 3, doing too much isn't a good thing. And then 4, what we can do to stop this. And if we have time at the end, any questions from you guys. So now the football is actually a very simple game in one respect. If you control the centre of the pitch, you control the match, right? So when a team keeps getting exposed in that area again and again and again, it raises a very serious question. Is this happening by accident? Or is there something in the structure allowing this to happen? So tonight, before we get into anything else, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and come join us in the comments and have your say. Because the goal tonight is not to tell you this player's not doing this player's not doing that, or he's good, he's bad. It's just to understand a bit more of the fundamentals. But between Amorim, we'll say Fletcher briefly, and Carrick, nothing's changed in midfield. And with 3 managers sort of having their eyes over this, they're not all going to start going, oh, let's leave that midfield exposed. Let's have the same problem time and time again. So that wouldn't happen. But right now, that's all we're seeing. So I want to start with a very clear sort of look at the difference in our structures, or should I say lack of difference in the structures. So we're going to do that. But first off, let's just see who's in the chat for when we're getting started. Who we got here? We have Danny's in the house. First in as always, Danny. Good to see you. And if you can just keep a look on the likes and the shares and subscribes for me, that'd be absolutely perfect because there's a lot to go through. So I'm going to bring up a screen and, okay, it's a tactical board. So we're going to go there. On the left in the red, you will see Amorim's tactics. On the right in the blue, you recognise them? That is Michael Carrick's tactics. So I just want to focus on the red for a minute. You can see number 5 and number 6. So although we have the full 11 set up, the key tonight, we're not really going to focus on the back 3, the back 4 and the keeper. Although they will have to play their part like they do in anything, we're going to focus around the midfield and why it keeps going wrong. So I thought, use a tactics board. I will move them around as if I'm actually coaching and try and explain just some key fundamentals where, like I said, sometimes doing too much can be a bad thing. We always talk about, that player's given his all. Sometimes you wind it in a bit and we can look more structured. And that can alleviate a lot of pressure through our midfield. So first things first, obviously I'm going to take Michael Carrick's structure and I am just going to do this. So reds are Amorim, blues are Michael Carrick. You can see certain players pretty much go like for like. Okay. Deliberately, I've left these 3 here. Now, you should be able to see my cursor. So obviously, we play a 10 now, just in Bruno. And we don't play the 2 10s. But look what we do play. We play two sitting midfielders. Now, yes, I understand that in some people's eyes, this one was a free roaming and it was more sort of like that, is how people expected it to be. Although I've gone over the stats, that wasn't the case at all. Basically, Bruno came in here as a quarterback. So these players, when we, as I call it, breathe, and I'll come on to that, as we expand, the ball can go into the channels and they could run. Okay. But like I said, we're not going to focus on any of the defenders and the keepers, because you'll notice, although we have three, we sacrifice one player. These players are technically the same. The one player we sacrificed was a 10 and put him in defence. Okay? So when we say about Mainu and Casemiro, or if you're going back to Amrin, it was Bruno, and then we had Cunha and Mbeumo in the 10. I'm going to lose all of these ones off the back, and I'm going to lose our wide players for now. It's much easier when you've got a proper tactical board in front of you and you can just literally wipe them with your hand. Get off the board. So if we lose our wide players and we lose our number 9s, because number 9s don't really come into it, we basically have an option of, let's widen them a bit. Let's do this. We play a box midfield or we play a midfield triangle. Okay. So under Amrin, we played a box midfield, and basically it should have always been like that. Okay. So Bruno would quarterback, step in here so they could run on and go past Sesko. Whereas now Bruno is here, these two stay, and Sesko is the main option. So all the time we keep going, Casemiro's not got the legs. Kobe Mainu hasn't got the legs. Ugarte can't tackle. Whatever your view on the players is, why would three managers do the same? And just to point out, when Fletcher came in, we played 4-3-3. So it was just 3 up top, 3 in midfield. So it's still Bruno here, and he played it as a diamond as well. So we took the wingers out. The wingers just became strikers, and we didn't have any wingers. So it is still exactly the same. So that's 3 managers who is a well-known fact that our midfield is slow and exposed. So do you honestly think, and this is something come in the comments, come in the live chat now, do you honestly think that 3 different managers went, let's leave that midfield totally exposed? Okay? Because I don't see that happening. Now, I've said before, I tend to play a version of 3 at the back. Now, whether it be 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, anything like that. The 2 is only as good as the players in front of him. Okay? So, a lot of these channels, and it's hard to put it in words which don't sound derogatory. There's a lot of people who have played football, and then there's playing football and being coached into a role. So in England, we call it, you got Sunday League, you turn up with your mates, you play, most teams play 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, but no real instructions. As you move through park football, even on a Saturday, then you move to, say, county league football, low level, people probably still not even qualified. And then you move up through the ranks, county, which is like, okay, county prem, maybe a few of your players might even get paid. Then you go Isthmian football, where they're on a form of contract or form of payment, and then up through your national leagues, south, north, and then you're into the football league. There's obviously Mark White at Dorking, well established. The guy has done wonders at Dorking, no qualifications, okay? So not everything's about qualifications. It's about how you see the game. So I want to point out a few things. I am going to use the Reds now as just a standard defence. And we're going to talk about our press. And this should easily show you one of our biggest problems. If I'm playing out from the back, I'm not going to be playing a flat four like that. I'm going to play as wide. And let's just bring in Mr. Number 1 in here. Okay. Sesko's going to close down here. Next thing you know, Bruno's here, closing down the other centre-back. Mbumo, Cunha. So we've gone 4 attacking players. We don't have 4 attacking players, but we've gone for 4 attacking players on their back 4. We have Kobe Mainu here. We will have Casemiro here. And guess what? They have a free player because of the way we're set up. When we press in a 4-4-2, Casemiro technically has to do this job, which means that one of our centre-backs has to come out and do here. But they still have, and we go man for man at the back. Now, last time I checked, Man United was probably the slowest team in the Premier League. If we went into 3 sections, our attack, okay, we got pace. Our midfield, no pace at all. And our back line, yeah, sorry to say it, maybe 1 out of 4's got pace. So if we press, or how we do press, this is causing us a real problem. Because we don't want the centre-back stepping out to mark the spare midfielder. Because the basic principles of defending is whatever aspect you're in, you should be +1. Okay? Because their keeper's out of the game, that enables you to be +1. So, we'll say this is Bruno, does that, just cut off that passing lane, it's a long ball. And it's free, and in here, 9 times out of 10, this is going to be, right now, Martinez or Harry Maguire. If it's on this side and it's Martinez, chances are he doesn't win the header, flick on, or even flick round the corner, and we're getting done for pace. Yeah? Because if Lenny Yoro's not on the pitch or Mazraoui, Dallow's not quick and will probably flatten someone. Harry Maguire's, as amazing as Harry Maguire is like a truck, and Luke Shaw has barely got 2 legs left on him. Okay? So that causes a real issue. What Manchester United should be doing is, if we are going to press high, our centre-backs have to be here. The whole defensive line has to be there, enabling our midfielders to sit somewhere in between. So if we're going to press, we've got to gamble. We've got to be in front. Now, this makes this easier to pick up. And 9 times out of 10, you will find that happens. So that's called a man-for-man press. And Manchester United cannot do it. They're physically unable to do it. So if you're going to press that high and try and turn the ball over in the final third, are we going to get anyone in the box? Probably not. You're probably going to have to win the ball and get a shot off, or if you win it in the wide area, get a cross in. And if Sesko's not on the pitch, that's a ball straight back to the goalkeeper. Okay? The best way to imagine Manchester United, and I'm trying to give a clear demonstration, hiccups. And I don't mean it in the terms of I've made a hiccup. When you have hiccups, what do? We hold our breath. And when we hold our breath, we get a tightness in our chest. The chest goes in, and that's how you defend. So as we're defending back, what you would want to see is defenders no wider than the 18-yard box. This is saying we're defending through the midfield. These guys are your pivots. They should be no more than the distance between the 18-yard box and the halfway line. They should be smack bang halfway. Because what you should do is come back at pace. Now, your wingers should tuck in. There's your 4-4. What Man United are doing, they're defending in this shape, 4-5-1. Okay? But if we press really high, Bruno's meant to be the runner out of all three of our midfielders. And he's got to go from the 18-yard box to 18-yard box if we get countered. And that's the wrong structure for Manchester United. If you're going to defend in a 4-4-2, you cannot press unless they are like starting here. So you go man for man at the back, say it's 3 people through the middle. You'll probably have a fullback and a fullback. 1, 2, and again, something in that structure. Okay. Now these guys will go wide, and the keeper will have the ball. And you'll notice we do that with Lemons, and what he's trying to do is entice this player to run, come to there, and then he'll clip a ball out wide here, or vice versa, because he can use left or right foot. Okay. But if you look at how we're set up now, there's hardly any space to play. You're not going to play through the middle. Okay. This guy is able to do all of this. Yeah. The holding midfielder. Ideally, he sits here. So if he goes, no one's on him. If Kobe Mainoo jumps, he can come out. He gets the ball. If Casemiro, who should never jump because he hasn't got the recovery pace, same thing happens, right? Now, why do you think that happens? Because in a 4-4-2 structure, defensively, we have to know where it's going to go and allow that one person, the weak person, to have the ball. So what we always do, we always actually press wide and shut it off, and it gets bounced past through the middle and out. Now, again, I'm trying not to go too technical. I'm not getting too much coming back in the chat, so I must be doing okay. Now, if Bruno didn't do the press and he dropped in here and picks up that player, Sesko just needs to sit here. Now, all Sesko can do is if the ball comes out, and you'll see this back in the day with Brighton and people like that, what side do we want the ball? Where's our strongest side? Now, sometimes the strongest side isn't where you feel you have the best players. Sometimes the strongest side is if they get it wide, say to this number 8, and he crosses the ball in, what side's Harry Maguire on? Because if he can come from the back post towards it and head it clear, we know Harry's winning the headers nine times out of 10, right? So you push him to go to the opposite side. Unfortunately, our weakness is Dalot. I expect Luke Shaw to stop more crosses than Dalot. Okay? So as Dalot comes out and gets beaten, he'll either dive in here and give away a corner. We don't really want that. The cross comes in. Harry Maguire, currently playing at left centre-back, heads it away. We've seen that all the time. Now, I talked about breathing and holding your breath. Now, if we're in this shape here, and we're nice and tight, and the only space we give up is the outside channels, when we do smother the ball in a low block, because ideally, that's what we get back to. You don't drop into your box. He goes wide, he's here, and Bruno's there. You'll notice that now you're shutting off the gaps for the passes. And Sesko just needs to be ready because he's going to have to hold the ball up. When we break, it's like that explosion from your chest when you're gasping for air and you finally got it. If you ever held your breath underwater, you're holding it, you feel that tightness in your chest. And then when you explode, your chest just feels like a full expansion. And we go from being this tight in a 4-5-1, saying, go down the outside, we'll double up, you cross it, into these guys just go. Sesko gets on a centre-back. Bruno has to go, and either Casemiro, Kobe Mainoo plays it out. And that's how you counter. So, contract to defend, expand to go up. Again, though, if Bruno ends up as a second striker and we get turned over, what is happening is because we're playing long ball, this is going to happen. Say centre back on Sesko, keeper's back in the goal. Bruno's gone, centre back. He's come back. I know the numbers are off, guys. Just doing this deliberately. Now, we know Casemiro is not going to go sprinting up the pitch, and we'll leave Casemiro here. We know Kobe Mainoo's not that quick, so he's going to go here. Maybe Luke Shaw's an out ball, Dallow's an out ball, and we come up. Although you could catch a load of players offside, last time I checked, they weren't very quick coming out from the back. And what's going to actually happen, and you can go back and watch this in multiple aspects through the last 4 games. If you just want to pick up the clips on MUTV, the short sort of 90 minutes in 20 or something like that, we've created no man's land. So Kobe Mainoo will try and support. Bruno will be here. And if this gets turned over or cut out and their midfielders are faster, there's your +1 in midfield. There, stay back. Now, obviously, these guys are trying to stay onside. And the reason I'm using a front 3, with the exception of maybe Palace and I'm just trying to think 2 other teams, most play a form of front 3, whether it's 1 and 2 or a flat 3 or 2 and 1. Because I noticed a few teams now are playing 2 up top with a linking man. Even Liverpool are switching to that. What happens is we've tried to break, they've got back, and we've got a spare man, and there'll be an acres of space in a slightly wide aspect. Okay. But what is also happening, and this is more worrying, right? Please ignore the number 12. I can't get him off the screen. It's glitched on me. What is also happening is twofold. So Bruno works his arse off, and we go, yeah, Bruno's working so hard. He's up and down, up and down. So Bruno comes in here with Sesko. But at the moment, we don't have a wide left player. We have Cunha, who runs in straight lines. And I don't have a problem with running in straight lines, but he doesn't get back here and defend. He gets back here and defends. And he comes from here. So when he, because he's right-footed, he'll spin and he'll look for that ball over the top, okay? And then he'll chase his ball. So, and Bruno will go over, Sesko will come over. Sorry, wrong players. Look, we look something like that. The ball's gone over the top. And that happens. Which enables, again, loss of possession. You saw this a lot against Newcastle. But the crossfield ball is on. And that's just going to screw us. Every time. Because now, what Mainoo or Casemiro will have to do is make a choice. And the one thing in football is you don't really want to make a choice, okay? You want everything to go perfect and you want a man mark almost without being told to do it. So if the ball is switched, if Luke Shaw jumps or Kobe Mainoo sort of decides to jump, whoever's jumping is leaving a potential easy 1-2 overlap down the outside, which means more running, okay? We don't see it very often on the right, and that's because Mbeumo and Ahmad are actually more disciplined and they stay wide here. Never coming, if I had a white line, never really coming outside of this channel, okay? Right down here. Whereas on the left, it's Luke Shaw we're finding only in that channel, okay? I put up a graphic last week about how Cunha was tucking in compared to Ahmad, and I didn't think that was correct. I double checked, and it was the same in the Newcastle game as it was in the... Who did we play before that? It's gone. It's not the Fulham game, was it? Tottenham game. In the Tottenham game. So if we reset to them having the ball, The only way we can protect Casemiro, who doesn't have the legs, and we all know that, is to change, and it's a simple change, is to change the defensive structure from 4-4-2 into 4-5-1. And you just have Bruno here. We'll swap these over. Hang on. 11. They're even annoying me. And I know they're not proper numbers. You end up with Bruno here. And he just blocks the passing lanes. That's all he has to do. And if Kobe Mainoo has to jump out, then he comes in. So instead of him being the legs, he needs to be the brain. Because we see him talking all the time. So if Cunha's here and he makes that jump out, someone's got to defend the ball at all times. And as much as you want to go man for man, you can see me doing this, there's always an option. Whether he comes in, comes out. So Dalot comes in here, comes across. Now we're man for man. But this is a static board. Football doesn't work like that, does it? You know, like I say, football's an easy game on paper, but it's quite easy to lose your player. And if someone's fighting for the ball, and 9 times out of 10, they're not standing still with it for you to get there. They'd be running, he'd be here, so he'd come out. And he might think, oh, he's going to spin in behind me, so he starts running back, but then comes back towards the ball. He gets it. This player still stays free because you start dropping back into your structure. So I'd rather use the red cursors, do you know? Let's... I wouldn't mind a few questions coming in because although I'm saying this, I'm just talking to the camera. I can't... You guys must be seeing something as well when you watch the TV. So we're going to go for what Michael Carrick's been doing recently. And again, like I said, I don't see it correct. Forget the things. We went from having an Amorim structure of something like, forget there's no striker, midfield box here, where we had 2 10s, 2 holding, to now a defensive block of 4, which ideally is offset because you're trying to push them to one side. Okay, and then you come across. I'm pretty sure you've all heard of the shoestring defence, right? So when you're working a shoestring defence, or God, call it the Arsenal defence. If the right back goes up, everyone shuffles across one position, right? And the left winger would drop back in, and you end up with 5 at the back. Doesn't matter if you're playing 4 at the back, 5 at the back, 3 at the back. This never changes. It's just a standard thing. But what you do with your holding midfielders, they create a flat 4. This is why 4-4-2 is the most solid and sensible formation ever. But this is where we used to go wrong with Amorim, because people used to put the ball into these spaces and we end up like that. And we could never play out because the playmaker could only come through the middle. And we never managed to have a goalkeeper capable of doing that. So if we go with Bruno back in here, notice by Bruno dropping in the middle, whichever side our defence comes from, and Mbumo, Sesko, Bruno, you can play out. You can create patterns. But it also gives you that option of a switch to the other side. Okay? Now, there's been a lot of talk about Casemiro's legs. There's been a lot of talk about Kobe Mainoo's legs. I have never come across a manager that can't tell that players can't sprint. Okay? So when you have 2 current issues in your starting lineup, I think we can all agree that's the shape you expect to see when Sky Sports put it up, TNT, whoever you want to call it. You expect to see 4-2-3-1. The only time we play 4-2-3-1 is when we line up for kickoff in the first half and the second half. Because once you're on the pitch, it all changes. There is no set formation. Okay, it's all about rotation. And I remember Amrin saying a very weird thing in one of his press conferences about Bruno and how Bruno has to learn rotations. I know he was playing in the 8, but you can't stay in 8, can you? You can't stay in one position, because if the ball gets played out wide and say Mbumo chases it, Sesko goes in here. This player you want to come in, this player you want to stay wide. You want an overlap here. You want Casemiro coming up here. Look, what formation's that? You know, it's not a formation, is it? It's about patterns of play. But it's about then, when it goes wrong, where do we recover? So we don't want Casemiro and Kobe Mainoo moving under Amarin. I would say he's pretty much told them to play no more. I'm just going to mark out with blue dots. This is going to be their square. He doesn't want them playing outside of that at any point. So I don't care where you go, but I want you in straight lines, level, to the best of your ability. Ideally passing angle, but then you come in here. Passing angle. So we do that. Because the reason for that is the centre-backs only have to come up to here. Lemons will start here. There's no space to play in behind. But because we're a counter-attacking team currently, I think we can all agree on the fact we're counter-attacking. So if I put these guys wide, there's your Cunha, your Sesko, your Bruno. Sesko on a centre-back in the box. Cunha out here. And Mbumo is definitely, or Ahmad on the right, will definitely be holding the line. Now, when you play a 3-man midfield, you're 2 holding, most will do it, or 2 attacking, and 1. There's a box midfield set up, okay? You'll have 1 defender, one of your front 3 drop off into it, and your midfield 3 will just separate, because it creates easy triangles. That's why I wanted the blue cursors. Now, what we're getting is this. That is not good. What happens is Sesko's on a centre-back and he's got another one here. Full-back. We'll say he's there. He's here. Number 12 isn't playing. That's why it's number 12. If we're on the attack, everyone defends low block against us, right? So now, pretty much, that's what happens. We get low block. Midfield get here. And that's pretty much where we break down from. But because maybe Casemiro's got the ball in this space, he's looking for a pass. You see, we get down here, we turn around, we come back. He's getting pressed. He receives the ball. Now, the obvious pass would be out here. Because 5 should be here. Cunha's in here, looking in the space. He's taking the space. He's taking the opportunity. The fullbacks come in. Luke Shaw can't do that. He can't do it all game. Because what he needs is a break here to receive the ball, to lay the ball off and go again. But at the moment, Cunha's doing that, getting dragged across onto his right foot, looking to bend one. So Cunha ends up all the way over there. Bruno ends up all the way over here. So when we come back, there's no one out on the left. And if they're leaving 3 up front, which is the best thing to do against Man United centre-backs, all he's got to do is pull off of the centre-back and Shaw's left him wide open. And if you look at the Newcastle goal, that's exactly what happened. Malacia wasn't able to recover. So when a midfielder gets the ball and he looks to his left, in this case, and there's no one there, he's now going to take another touch. And as he takes that touch, the player is being pressed, yeah? So one touch, maybe he's here. 2 touches, he's here. Third touch, he's on top of you. Fourth touch, he's taking it off you and they're on the counter. And there's an easy out ball because it didn't come just because one player is out of position. But that one player pushes another player over, and we end up on one side of the pitch. Very, very drastic kind of way of looking at it, but very preventable. So going back to my analogy of breathing, when you're on attack, you need to be as wide as possible. So Bruno needs to get in the box. Casemiro, Mainu need to be here. Because as soon as you put 2 reds in the box, now you've got 4 defenders marking 4 players. But we're in control of the ball because we have Luke Shaw come up. He's going to be chased. He's not going to be left alone, is he? So he's going to come out. He's going to come out. And they're going to try and get +1. And that's why we just bounce it around. You come back, get it. Bounce it out the other side. And you keep dragging them around. Now, I could talk all day about tactics, and this is only in theory, because real life happens, yeah? Bad pass, difference in speed, difference in height, bad cross, bad touch, everything like that happens. Okay, so I'm going to come on screen for a bit. As much as I love tactics boards require almost like stats as well. Most out balls go to this player. Most things do that. And as you know, I hate stats. So I wanted to have a bit more of a conversation about the players in this respect. So let's take the board off here. Remove from the screen. It can come back at some point. Right. Minimize. When we are talking about Manchester United currently, we all know that Jamie Carragher made the stupid comment and been made to look quite bad this season by Casemiro's performances. Leave football before football leaves you. We all know that Christopher Vell, Jason Wilcox are behind all of our decisions, and we also are aware that we had no transfers in January. Again, that's more aspects to people going, midfield's a problem. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about No, midfield's a serious problem. 1 injury and we're screwed. Yo, don't worry. We're going to make Champions League. No, it's a real problem. Well, isn't there something you can do with the players we got? Yeah, there is. You're not going to like it because it means that we can't play attacking football. Oh, Amarin was doing that. Amarin didn't play attacking football. No, he compressed the pitch, tried to put a defensive structure in, which meant Bruno quarterbacked rather than playmate. And I wonder if any of you guys can actually see why. Because Bruno's running ability and the lack of injuries was more important to the structure for the team than the ability to create goals when we brought in 3 attacking players and they played in those positions. Okay. The left wing back in Dorgu gave us our wide player. Cunha, who always comes in as an 8/10, could be tucked in where he comes in naturally to. So now we've got to start looking at, oh shit, we bought the wrong players for this formation. Because when Dorgu's back fit, Dorgu goes out on the left. Because our only left-sided options currently in our squad is Luke Shaw or Patrick Dorgu. Now, I could argue the fact and say, well, you can play Ahmad there, you can play Mbumo there, but we don't. For whatever reason, now my reason is that they've never played out there in their life. Do we have the right players to play any pressing system currently? Because I don't think we do. And the main reason being, if our strikers, we'll call it our front four, we'll put Bruno in there, our front four press at high speed, they get further away from the midfielders who can't catch them up, creating a big gap. How many times do you see the press work in football? You know, if I press 10 times, how many times am I turning the ball over? Probably if I'm at the top end of a pressing team, an Atletico Madrid, I don't know, it's hard to say. Even on a Man City, Liverpool of last season, maybe you get 3 or 4 turnovers, okay? But you don't necessarily get them in a great position. You might get a corner, a throw-in or something like that, but you just turn the ball over and get it back. What is the point in Manchester United doing a high press at pace if they beat the press and it leaves our midfield 3v2? Because Bruno is the press lead. He goes up into a secondary striker position. If Bruno just sits back in and we allow one of the centre-backs to have it, but we cut off with our wide players, the full-backs, Sesko stays on a striker, we've now gone man for man, and he still needs to find a pass. So as we're going man for man and they can't find that pass, we pick him up. We become a mid-block because we're delaying their attack. Yes, you want to go long over the top of us? Great. Harry Maguire clears it up. You want to go to the fullbacks? Maybe it goes out of play. Hopefully they're smart enough to shield it out of play. And I do say hopefully because that's just how we feel really at the moment. All this talking without the chat, guys. I'm having to take a drink. Right. So, from all of you that have been watching, I sort of needed a bit more of your takes on what you see. Because I see a Kobe Mainu that can run for 90 minutes, maybe 120 minutes, but he runs at one pace. I see a Casemiro who football has apparently left having his best season for United, up until probably where he's had to play 2 games because we couldn't replace him. When we did, bring on Ugarte, and an absolute shit show started to happen in midfield because Ugarte is more of an 8 than he is a 6. But what we're not doing is getting compact. We obviously expand width fast, and that's how we get our goals, counter-attacking. Going back to the Ollie days, and even further back from that. And it does worry me that we rely on Mbumo's pace, Sesko's flicks, Ahmad's pace, Cunha carrying the ball. But when you ball carry, Cunha's always going to get caught up because you can run faster without the ball than you can with it. When you play it wide right for Mbumo, it becomes very predictable. The centre-back can drop off and cut that ball out and cut across, unless we get pinpoint accuracy like we did for Sesko's winner against Everton. So we become Moments again, Moments FC. And I was thinking we were wanting more than that to move away. I'm only judging us currently on Carrick's first 7 games. Forget what he done before that. Went in the interim role before when Ollie left. Forget all that. Different players in the structure. But right now, I can see a defensive line that is set up to do their job. I can see 2 holding midfielders that are sat there waiting for the ball, looking for the ball, looking to destroy. But all they see is players on rushing them. Because when we don't press properly, because one of the wingers is 20 yards off their player instead of only 5 yards off their player, when Bruno is turning around trying to tell Sesko who he's got to press and where someone else should be, and he's not on his player, that creates the angles to easily get played through. If the press is not natural and is not worked, what are we doing in the 13 weeks we had off? Just over 7 days ago, right? And then we got another week off now. So if we're not working on when to press, what the triggers are for our press, I'm a little concerned. I don't see many triggers when we do press. It's not like, oh, he's taking a bad touch, or the ball's bouncing, or, it's a long ball, he's got to bring it down, or the keeper's got it at his feet. That's the only one I see. When the keeper has it at his feet, we make a curve run to shut off the one side pass and make him play. But we're never. It's out to a fullback. The wingers aren't out there. Where surely we want him to knock it long and send it back his way and get the second ball off of Harry Maguire's head, and we pick up the second ball. So I'm seeing a real flaw in the shape of our defensive structures off of 3 managers. And I just feel that, from my understanding of each basic tactical lineup, bear in mind I don't know what's being asked by Steve Holland. I don't know what's being asked of Michael Carrick, Woodgate, Evans, anyone like that, how they adapt it, okay? But what I do know is one player cannot be good enough but do a good job. Same as one player can be absolutely out of this world and running everywhere, and that can be a slipping cog in your wheel, so to speak. So all of you that have watched, I totally appreciate it. For you that have just come across this, please come back in the comments, okay? But if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, I will be doing another video later on in the week. What I'm going to do about it, not sure. Then we're going to have the preview Friday night, the player rating show after the game on Sunday, and obviously then we'll do a breakdown on the Tuesday. Thank you for getting through that. If there's anything that you think maybe I ranted or maybe I didn't explain clear enough, come back in the comments. Maybe I can try and put it into words better than with a board. It is very hard to do it with a board on a computer. Like I say, maybe I'll get a tactical board and an overhead camera and move it around like that, where it's easy to just move people out and work on small sections. But what I ask of anyone who watches this, I like honesty. And my honest point I was trying to make is have a look at why a gap is exposed. Who do you think should be in that gap? And do you, as fans, as watchers of football, think that any manager willingly leaves a big gap? Because it's okay to say that player's not doing his job. Why is he doing that? And that's what I want to leave you with tonight. So thank you for watching, guys, and I will catch you on the next one. Good night.